What's up, everybody? It's Dr. Stacy L. Spencer, and we're back with the Naked and Unashamed SLS podcast, where we talk about money, intimacy, marriage without filters.
Okay, and that's right. I'm Rhonda Spencer, wife, mother, and co-pilot on this crazy ride, this sacred ride called marriage.
So tonight, guys, we're going to be talking about no romance without finance. And so we are excited that you're here with us. So go get your spouse if they're not in the room, or do us a favor. Subscribe, like, share with all your couple friends, because we need to hit this. There's a lot of people, baby, that are in distress right now because of the way the economy is economying, the way the life is lifing. People are messed up. And we want to help some couples whose financial situation has interrupted their intimacy.
Okay.
So what do they need to know tonight about this podcast?
What you guys need to know that this podcast is for seriously dating and married couples, and the information that we share is for informational purposes only.
So get ready, man. We're getting ready to jump into it. We love you guys, and we're ready to get into it with the Naked and Unashamed SLS podcast. Let's go.
We made it through the test. Strength and need, love and sex.
We are excited tonight to talk about this thing about romance and finance. There's been some time when our money was funny and our change was strange. Change was strange, man. We barely had 2 pennies to rub together, but the thing we've always had, baby, is our love.
Right.
And I think it's easier for us because we started in college together at West Kentucky University. And I remember your first meal you made for me. I think it was ravioli. And
No, get that straight. That is the meal you made for me.
What'd you make me?
I probably fried you some chicken or something like that.
You gotta make it seem like
But you were such a great guinea pig on my learning how to cook stages.
But did it make it easier that we started out struggling together? That it helped us to kind of build on that foundation? Is it easier when couples start out struggling, or is it more challenging when you get married and you don't have that history of struggle together?
I think it's both and. When you start out together and you're struggling, then you can appreciate the excess when you have more. But when you already have something established and you get into a relationship with someone else that is established or maybe not so established, then you've got to really put everything on the line and kind of determine, this is what our budget's going to look like. This is what our dreams are for our money,
Yeah, so today's episode, we're talking about all of that, right? It's one that a lot of couples don't like to talk about, but they need to.
Yeah.
And we're calling it, this one, No Romance Without Finance. We're not here to judge anybody, so y'all take a deep breath. No need to clutch your wallet. We got you. And so tonight, baby, we want to talk about money isn't just about money. What's it about then?
Well, let's just name the truth. Money is one of the top reasons that couples break up or end in divorce. It's not sex, it's not the kids, it's not the in-laws, it's money.
Yeah. According to one research that I found about financial analysis, is that finances is the second leading cause to divorce. Watch this, right behind infidelity.
Oh, wow.
So when that money is not right, it throws stuff off in your relationship. And in a recent survey by SunTrust Bank, 35%, watch this, 35% of couples said money was the number one cause of stress in the relationship. Can money mess with your intimacy?
Oh my gosh, that is a stress that shows up everywhere. It's not just showing up in your budget, but it shows up in the bedroom. When you're mad about an overdraft fee, or you're mad because a mysterious Amazon charge has come up, on the account.
Who did that?
Who knows? Who could have done it?
Baby, can you help me with this charge on I'm doing the bills. Oh yeah.
Oh, hush. But sometimes those things happen. The Amazon charge,
they just mysteriously happen.
They just mysteriously come up, and sometimes you have to stop shopping.
I don't know about y'all. Look, I do the bills in our family, and it's not. I don't really look forward to it, but I do it. I've been doing it for years.
Because you're gifted in it.
No, don't be gassing me up. I don't know about y'all, but when bills are unpaid and the account's looking funny, you're not trying to sing Marvin Gaye's "Let's Get It On." You're trying to say, "Let's fix this budget," because it will mess up your intimacy.
Yeah. And intimacy, it thrives. It can not thrive when there's tension or some resentment, surrounding money. So you want to make sure that you make a budget and stick to it. And that's just the simple truth.
It's got to be a collaborative effort, though.
Yeah.
You can't, because in marriage, one person is a saver, one person is a spender. Y'all got to get together and figure this thing out. Because if you don't, money can impact your intimacy. How does money impact your intimacy?
Those stressors and triggers can trigger anxiety, and then some shame and blame will come back, and sometimes those emotions block the desire that you may have in your bedroom. There's a sexologist, I believe her name is Emily Nagoski. She teaches that one of the biggest arousal inhibitors is stress. Oh my gosh, stress affects every aspect of your life, even in the financial realm of your life.
And I think finances is one of the biggest stressors. Can we be honest?
Yeah.
Finances are one of the biggest stressors. We've been finding here lately, trying to do things to empower couples, and people have been slow.
Yeah.
To be a part of some of the things we're having. And we were talking to a friend about it the other day, and he said this. He said that people pay for their entertainment, but they want their empowerment for free. And I think people kind of start self-selecting what gets paid, what does not get paid when the economy is tight. But one of the things we cannot afford to do is to allow our financial challenges to get in the way of our intimacy, right?
Right.
For example, when one spouse is employed and one spouse is not employed, or one spouse earns more than the other spouse, it can create a power imbalance. And it's hard to feel emotionally connected if one of you feels disrespected or like you're being treated more like a dependent than a partner. We kind of went through that when you came out of corporate America to help take care of the family. And I'm so grateful for that sacrifice that you gave. But somewhere there was a season where I felt like a dependent, like I got to come ask you for money. Right. When you were used to making your own money, you were making good money.
Yes.
But you made a sacrifice for the betterment of our ministry. Can you talk a little bit about how that made you feel, being in that power imbalance?
Well, that was very, early on in our marriage, and it made me feel like I wasn't contributing anything, financially. Although I was contributing on the other side, I felt like it was an imbalance without realizing the importance of what I was contributing to the family. That was also very important.
I talked about this on Mother's Day. There was a study that looked at what a stay-at-home mom should make. Being a counselor, a nurse, a doctor, a event planner, a tutor, educator, a nanny, a chef, a coach, a van driver. They said y'all should be making $184,000 a year.
I say an hour.
An hour, Lord have mercy. But that it was a very real moment for us, and we, praise be to God, we got to a place of equilibrium where you first of all realize you are making a significant contribution, and then you started making more money, and it didn't feel as stressful for you to have to come and say, hey, can I get some gas money? Can I get this? And so taking that into account, there are a lot of married couples that are listening. Y'all listening to us right now, and you may be in a power imbalance. But we want to get you to a place to look at other ways that you can contribute other than financially, and not wallow in shame or beat yourself up because of that imbalance. And I hope that you guys are loving enough that y'all can have conversations, real conversations about, babe, it's okay that I'm making more than you right now. You're helping me in other ways. It's important that we don't browbeat one another.
Oh, yeah.
When we get in tough spots, because some things are beyond our control. If you get laid off, because of downsizing, that's beyond your control.
Absolutely.
You know,
have to
that's
make those
that's
shifts.
different.
Yeah. Or there's another dynamic. If someone grew up, in poverty and, or financial trauma, where you had a parent that was not so smart with the finances, or they may carry that fear into adulthood, and it shows up in different ways. It shows up like in hoarding, or being a miser, or even overspending. The thing, well, I didn't have it, now I have it, so now I'm gonna spend it. So that shows up in so many different ways.
Growing up in poverty myself, I grew up in a single wide trailer, single mom, and there's a lot of trauma that's associated being raised like that. Like in the wintertime when the gas gets low, and I have anxiety around making sure my family's warm, because we had winters where we were all sleeping in one bed because we were not warm. Mama couldn't afford the gas. And even though we're doing quite well financially, there's still those triggers, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes that plays into budgeting. It plays into financial discussions. And so we have to be cognizant when we're raised in poverty and we have those triggers, to discuss those triggers with your spouse so that they don't think that you're just being frugal or mean. No, I'm very conscious of the fact that I escaped poverty. I don't want to go back. Yeah. And so I got to put some things in place to make sure that doesn't happen.
Definitely. And when you were saying that, it triggered a memory, as my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And it was something that I loved but resented. And I was like, well, when I become grown, and I've got multiple degrees, that why, I'm smart. I'm going to be reduced to just this role. But that was a trigger that was initially something that, because it was something as a child, I was like, oh, I don't want to come home and my mom be at home and she's offering food to my friends. I wanted to be a latchkey kid. Isn't that silly? I wanted to come home and nobody be there.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that odd?
So how did that change for you once you became a mother?
Well, it changed because I don't remember which one it was, because there was a time that I was like, I'm going back to corporate. I'm losing these gifts. I'm going back to corporate. And I don't know which child, but he said, I miss coming home and you're home. I was like, okay.
Pulled at your heart.
It pulled at my heart. We're going to see how long this lasts, but it pulled at my heart.
When couples don't talk openly and transparently about finances, it can drive a wedge between you as a couple. It can mess with your bedroom activity. And the fear that you have, or the trauma that you have associated with coming out of poverty or dealing with a bad financial situation, that fear can shut you down. And it can rob you of your ability to be present in the relationship, physically, emotionally, and sexually. So let's bring the word into this. Let's bring the word into it. Amos 3:3 says, how can two walk together unless they agree? And that includes your financial walk. You've got to be yoked spiritually, emotionally, and financially. Y'all got to be on the same page.
Definitely. So this is what we've learned, not just from coaching other couples, but from living, this ourselves, that there are 3 things that help bring financial peace and make space for romance in return. And the first one is something that I'm grateful that you really stay on top of, because sometimes those unexpected things are gonna happen. A tree is gonna fall. You gotta pay to get the doggone thing cut up and hauled away. But to schedule a monthly money and intimacy check-in. So we're going over what our perceived budget is, and to see if there's any cushion just in case something pops off.
Need some cushion for the pushing.
That part.
You got to always have that rainy day fund. I think financial experts will tell you 3 to 6 months of your salary for emergencies, at least a month. You guys need a rainy day fund, because you never know what's going to jump off, and a budget that you stick to, a spending plan. Because if you don't tell your money where to go, your money's going to start bossing you around.
Yeah.
So you got to do that. And then is something you like to do that relates to pillow talk. What is that? You like to have a pillow talk budget.
Oh, I'm like, there are a lot of different pillow talks I like, but yeah, one of the things is, the pillow talk, talking about our budget. Of course, not early in the morning. This is
Right.
like before you go to bed. You don't want to wake up talking about finances. But then when you're talking about them, celebrate those wins.
Yes.
Hey, we spent under budget, this month. Let's take a certain percentage of it and put it aside so that we can work on that bucket list.
How does it feel when I come to you and I say, babe, look, we knocked this out.
Oh my gosh.
We paid off this credit card. We paid off this debt. We got this much left. Doesn't that feel good?
It really does. And it makes so much more sense now that we're getting older that, we don't want to work harder this next set of, our next chapter, but we want to work smarter.
And I want to retract this a little bit. We don't want you in your bedroom talking about money.
Okay.
I think you need to reserve that conversation for the kitchen table.
That's just like that picture we have.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think y'all need to get out of the bedroom with the money talks and reserve the pillow talk about intimacy and sex, right? Talk about what you like. What pleasures you? What makes you feel good? We want that bedroom to be a place of bonding so that when you get to the kitchen table, that conversation is easier because of the pleasure you got in your bedroom. So you got to make sure you guard that pillow talk time, more love talk than financial talk.
And when you said that, I thought about just thinking about some vacations or potential vacations that you would like to go on as a couple. And you can start finding ways to cut costs here and there. Like, oh, I don't need to buy another black dress. I have 3 in my closet already. Let's wear one of the 3.
Are you making a confessional in front of all of these people that you have more than 3 black dresses?
I confess that I have more than 3 black dresses.
I know that to be true. Amen. No, but yeah, we got to make sure that we are communicating and bonding, because if not, our financial struggles can cause us to drift away from each other sexually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be that way. You can have financial struggles and still be intimate and still be connected. But you got to be cognizant of it, because when your emotional accounts are in balance, your physical account starts looking a lot more attractive. When your emotional accounts are in balance, let me say that again. Watch this. We always say this to our married couples. You've got to make more deposits
Then withdrawals.
than you make withdrawals.
Yeah.
And when you meet your spouse's love language, when you're making deposits, affirmations, doing things for them, giving them pleasure, making love to them the way they want to be made love to, you're making a deposit so that when you have to have those hard financial discussions and make a withdrawal, you've got more deposits from lovemaking and intimacy and good communication, so the withdrawals don't hurt as much.
Yeah.
You don't go into the negative.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. It really does.
You got to create a shared financial vision. It's so important that, as my wife said, you start imagining what are some things we want to do together? Where are some places we want to go? Watch this. Our coach told us the other day that as we're planning for our international retreat, which didn't happen this year because of all the extenuating circumstances with our country and where we are financially, we get it. We get it, and we've made adjustments. We're just going to chill this year and let people figure out how to get their budgets and stuff together. But here's what you can do. We know next year we're going to Jamaica. In 2026, we're going back to Jamaica because the hospitality was off the chain. The food is great. The people are great. The culture is great. The environment is hecka romantic. It is, I mean, my libido goes up 3 degrees when I go to Jamaica.
Oh, 3?
3 more degrees. And so we want you to go with us next year. And we're telling you now, why so early? Because if you start putting aside vacation money now, by the time we get to 2026, June of next year, you already got your Jamaica money. You don't even have to think about it. That's saving a sandwich every week. I'm not going fast food eating. I'm going to put this in my vacation fund.
Yeah,
So
that adds up.
you got to create a shared financial vision.
Yeah, and then you have to sit down and ask yourself and your spouse, just like you said, Stacy, what are we building? Are we
Right.
building a home, a legacy? Are we putting money aside for vacation time? Or are we, a travel fund, a college account? When we're saving with a shared purpose, it brings you closer. Like when you put something down, like, okay, this is what we're saving for, or
Yeah.
this is what we're working toward, then it brings it into focus more, and it makes it.
I think it helps, like when we're walking around the house, we're like, hey, let's turn this room into a studio. We like the room we're sitting in now used to be the white living room that nobody went into. Every black home has a white living room where nobody sits on the furniture. And we're like, this is not practical. We're not using this living room. So we turned it into a studio. Then we walk in the bathroom like, what would it feel like if we had heated floors? What if we got a big old jacuzzi bathtub? What if we redid our mirrors? What if we redid the shower so we got 2 shower heads where you can sit down and shave your legs, or we can make love in the shower? We're sitting around dreaming, and it's been fun. When we finally transformed this living room, it gave me so much creative juice, and it made me bond with you because we were picking out furniture together, we were picking out colors together, and we saw the transformation together.
And when you're talking about the bathroom, it's making me like, oh, I can't wait for that to happen.
Is it making you tingle?
It won't even come out.
You're like,
It's okay. What is bringing to realization is that shared bathroom time, of being in our space together. But let's undress. The financial shame. It's not enough to get naked physically. You got to be naked financially too. We
Okay.
talk about being naked physically, emotionally, but we have to be naked financially too. That means being honest about your debt and your bad habits, your fears, and even, some financial abuse that you may have had in past relationships.
yeah. It's important that when shame comes into the picture, that we offer grace instead of guilt.
Yeah.
We're going to make some mistakes, financial mistakes. Instead of just jumping on your spouse, why'd you spend that money? Why'd you do that? We got to offer space for grace and to say, okay, remember our goal. Mm-hmm. Remember the vision we had, what we wanted to accomplish. Is that still your aspiration? Yeah, it is. Then we got to stick to what we said. Mm-hmm. We got this budget, this shared vision. We got this budget, the spending plan. Can we please agree to stick to it? And even when you fall, get back up again. And that shame comes, offer grace. Create a safe space to get it all out. Then after you get it all out, you share your truth and love. Let's move forward together.
Yeah, I love that idea, but I want to also add that we all work hard every week. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes it's frustrating. You're like, well, I don't have anything at the end of the week. Well, have that little $10, no more than $20 a week where you can do some little things, but not so much. Or maybe you start off $20 a month, and then as you putting stuff away, money away, you can increase that just to have a little something on your own.
Let's go back to that old school song.
What's that?
Gwen Guthrie, I think she said, "Ain't nothing going on but the rent.
Yeah, it meant nothing.
You gotta have a J-O-B if you wanna be with me. No romance without finance." At first it felt like a song that was kind of beating up on men, but as I've gotten older, it's really true that if your finances are off, it can mess up what's going on in the bedroom. Sex coaches often say the body can't open when the mind is locked. So even when money is tight, you can still prioritize touch, presence, and pleasure by staying emotionally connected. So do y'all follow what we're saying? You got to stay emotionally connected. Even when the finances may not be optimal and where you want them to be, there's still a possibility to have romance even as you get together your finance. Yeah. I think if we are working on the finances together, if we can see movement together, it gives us some hope so that it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Right.
You're not always going to be in an ideal financial situation. But if you're emotionally balanced, chances are you're going to get financially balanced as well. But you can't use the filter of how you're doing financially to determine whether or not you're going to be intimate.
No, and y'all, it doesn't cost a dime to be present, attentive, or even generous with your affection.
Come on, generous with your affection.
Be generous with your affection. Give the extra hugs and the squeezes, even when you don't feel your optimal best.
That is so good.
So just be generous with your affection. And the more you give in love, it's the more that you both receive in pleasure.
It takes me back to the beginning when we started the podcast. When we didn't have two pennies rubbed together, and I had clothes I got from the thrift store, but I was still cute.
You were shy.
You know what I'm saying? I was GQ without going broke. We were very creative, but we had love, though. I remember pulling over on the side of the road and running getting you flowers. Or I remember saying wishes like, man, I wish I could go in the mall and just buy my wife a dress. And here we are, you got 3 black dresses. And so God has been good, but what we started with was a foundation of love. So y'all don't forget the love. Don't forget the love, the foundation you built. It's not about the money. And I'm so grateful that God sent me a wife before I had money, because I know that Rhonda loves me because of me. We could, God forbid, we have to go back to an apartment or go back to meager means, but I'm pretty sure and certain that this woman would rock with me if we had to downsize, because she started when I had nothing. And so it's very important that as you pick a spouse, as you pick a mate, you pick somebody who is your friend first, and you build a solid foundation so that even when the finances are not optimal, y'all still good because the foundation is strong.
Absolutely. And we want to encourage every couple listening that you're not alone. If money is creating tension, don't ignore it. Face it together.
Yes. And don't let culture tell you it's either rich or romantic. It doesn't have to be both. You can build both with God's wisdom, grace, and a good plan.
And if you're struggling right now, just know that having those open conversations and building those budgets together will take you a long way.
Key word is what? Together.
Together.
So here's y'all's next step, family. Here's y'all's next step. First of all, we want y'all to subscribe to this podcast and leave a review. Y'all quit acting like y'all not watching this. I see y'all watching, and I'm grateful. We're grateful. But leave a review and share this episode with a couple that needs to hear what we talked about tonight. And then, baby, what do they need to do? Visit what?
And then next, we would like for you to visit our website, and that's Naked and Unashamed SLS.com, to learn all about what we offer, the things the workshops that we've presented in the past, and even some of our past retreats.
Yeah. What we're going to talk about next week?
Next week, we're going to talk
about. Are you ready?
Okay.
I'm so excited. I'm going to steal it from you.
Okay, tell me.
Horny ain't holy, or is it? Can you be horny and holy?
Horny and holy. I see. See, can you? It didn't even roll off my tongue right.
Yeah. We're gonna go there. We're gonna talk about that. But until next time, y'all, stay honest, stay connected, stay naked, and please be unashamed together. All right. We appreciate y'all being with us tonight. We hope this episode helped to resolve some of that tension that may be existing between you and your spouse around money. hey, we're all struggling right now, trying to, make ends meet and trying to come up with a plan. But as you're working out your financial goals, don't leave behind your intimacy goals, your love goals, because what we have is faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. All right, we love you guys. Share this. We'll see y'all next time, and y'all stay together and be blessed.